meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners. It is Thursday, May 12th. I'd like to open the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Welcome. Please stand for this flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, so as our usual protocol, we're going to start with Jamie with our treasurer's report. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. So tonight we're looking at the financials as of April 30th, 2022. They present a net budget surplus of approximately $500,000. As mentioned at the last meeting, there are a few accounts that we know are trending over budget. I'm likely going to present budget transfers for consideration at the June meeting. Some of these accounts include overtime, fuel and electric, terminal leave, fire training, and tank refills testing and repairs. So I will have recommendations for the board for those at the next meeting. Right now, as an update, today we did receive some information on the Chester Heights project for a potential change order that's needed. I provided the board with information regarding how the change order compares to the overall cost of the project. It seems like we have, if the board votes on it, authorization to move forward on that change order without going out for competitive bidding, since it is under 10% of the full cost that we've spent to date on Chester Heights. So the board has that for consideration this evening. As far as our year-end audit, we have our draft financial statements, which I'm currently reviewing, and I'll send it to the board. I'll let you know if there's any changes that need to be made, and then we can let our auditors know to issue final copies. They're available for the public. I think they'll be on our new website once it's up and running, and through FOIL as well. We received our tax collection on Tuesday of this week in the full amount of $18,049,409.70. Prior to this receipt, our account balances were at approximately $4.3 million, of which $1.6 million is our reserve, which can only be spent on capital improvements. One thing, now that we've received our tax collection, I proposed to the board whether we wanted to look at beginning our Treasury direct investments again. We haven't done them since 2019, as the interest rates had kind of hit the floor, but we are seeing that the interest rates are sort of slowly creeping back up. Still not what they were when we were doing this in 2019, which the rates were around 2%. But as of today, the rates were at 0.56, and they do seem to be increasing daily. Our JP Morgan account, we get like 0.03% interest. So I think it might be a good time to start investing again in the Treasury bills. What we did the last time was we bought in like groups. So instead of investing all the money at once, we'd buy like 4 weeks in a row. We did $3 million each week. This way, you also have the Treasury bills are coming up for maturity or reinvestment at different points in time. I think we definitely, with just getting our tax collection, we have some leeway to do this. They're 4-week Treasury bills, as I'm mentioning. That's allowable under our investment policy because it's a short-term investment and it's obviously a very safe investment. So that's something I presented to the board tonight for consideration. And then probably start looking at the budget probably around July. That's normally when we really start looking at it in earnest. I know we've been having some discussion already about a tower ladder and fitting that into our budget. The potential assistant chief position, bringing that back, has been brought up as well. So those will be things that we'll have to consider. As a reminder, last year we had the ability to increase the budget 3.8%, which would have been a $670,000 increase. We did a 2% increase, which was about $354,000. So just to keep that in mind, if we can expect a similar allowable carryover, it's likely the case. That's where we'll be looking. And again, once we start talking about some of these bigger purchases, this something we should consider going into the budget, whether that's something that we want to build in. And that is all I have in my report.
So what do you think the max would be for an increase this year?
You know, I think it's going to be close to what, like with the 3.8 was our maximum, without exceeding the tax cap. Obviously, you can do more than that. You just have to pass a resolution to exceed the tax cap. But, you know, there's no guidance out yet. It's still too early, but judging by like what we should have available to us for carryover, since we didn't go the full amount last year, I think it'll be similar.
Okay.
Something around that. And then, right, we could talk about whether we want to fund a reserve or appropriate some balance for a future purchase, as well as, you know, just our kind of general expenses and any other, if there's any other major updates or considerations, whether it's additional positions that some board members are interested in, or any other large purchases like that, or that would all be helpful information to have. The sooner the better, so that we can start building that in.
That's fine. All right, so to your Treasury direct deposit, I'll make that motion now then. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve and set a ceiling of a Treasury direct investment of $12 million. You can, if you want to do it $3 million a week for 4 weeks, that's your call. If you want to do a one shot, it's, you know, if you want to do it in pieces like you did 2 years ago,
Yeah.
that sounds fine to me. So I'll make that motion, like I said, for a max of $12 million. And can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carla?
Aye.
Okay, motion
Thanks.
passed.
And we have Jamie's bills, so I'll make a motion to pay the bills. Motion to pay bills and vouchers as presented. The board has been supplied with one set of bills and one credit card bill for the board approval. Chief Tween has reviewed all prior to the meeting except tertiary claims and those specifically marked as reviewed by the treasurer. The treasurer has requested the board approve the following. Warrant number 1 dated 5/12/22 in the amount of $75,108.68, and credit card bill dated 5/18/22 in the amount of $946.14 for a total of $76,054.82. I'll make that motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Anthony Laurie seconds.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carla?
Aye.
Motion carried.
We can discuss the resolution for the, one second here. There's the email today from Vinca, right, for change order number 5. We can do that now too, that's fine, right? So I'm gonna make a motion for the chief to sign off on change order number 5 for the pump system at Chester Heights Station for a total of $133,454.31. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carla?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, chief.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so I think we're good with Jamie right now, right? Okay, good. So we'll move on to the chief's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening, everybody. The monthly activity report for the month of April 2022, total alarms 278, 4 fire-related, 136 EMS for rescue, and we gave mutual aid twice, once to the city of Mount Vernon and once to the city of New Rochelle. Vehicle maintenance continues through the use of outside vendors. Tim Dalton's on vacation this week, so I will forward his weekly reports when he returns next week. At the board's request from last month's meeting, the light fixtures in the Bronxville Firehouse meeting room have been replaced with brighter, more efficient LED fixtures. Fire prevention and code enforcement activities continue with numerous plan reviews and inspections, and their report was emailed to the board on May 6th. Currently, 2 members are out on long-term absence, and 1 member is on a paid administrative leave. Lieutenant DiRienzo reports the 7 candidates in the Career Academy are doing well, and again, they tentatively are scheduled to graduate on Friday, July 15th, following an orientation period of approximately 1 week, and then they'll go into their assigned groups. Lieutenant Joseph Costanzo is currently attending the Fdny First Line Supervisors Training Program, and he'll be completing that on May 20th. The 7 Dell computers that we ordered last month have been delivered, and we have 2 of them in the process of installing the other ones over the next week. The radios in the firehouses, the base stations for the VHF and UHF receiving radios in each firehouses have been received and installed. I think they were ordered back in September. So there was a long lead time on that. So the 4 firehouses in the Marble Schoolhouse have new radios. The copier that we ordered last month is set up and working in the captain's office. And I have 3 requests for the board. I requested the board authorize me to sign a facility lease agreement with Iona College, which will allow the members to use the Iona College buildings for fire training. The facility lease agreement was emailed to the board on May 5th. It has been reviewed by the fire district's attorneys and has been given approval from our attorney, Cheryl Sacco. There's no cost for the lease to us, and the insurance broker has provided the required insurance coverages at no cost as well with a policy rider. My second request is that the board authorizes me to sign the GenServe Standby Power Maintenance Agreement dated May 9, 2022. It's for preventative maintenance on the 5 Firehouse emergency generators. The total contract is for $2,688. A 2-year option is available to lock in at that price. So it would be a total for 2 years of $5,376. Any required repairs found during the maintenance are not included. It's just changing the oil, analyzing the antifreeze. They change all the filters, fuel filters, oil filters, all that kind of stuff. So it's a maintenance thing, like taking your car to the repair shop for an oil change. So if they find any problems, that will be additional cost, but they'll give us quotes on any additional work that's needed. So I would recommend the 2-year with inflation driving up costs, so we could lock in at that price. But that'll be up to the board. And the final thing, Westchester County Board of Elections is requesting the use of the Bronxville Firehouse for an additional primary election on August 23rd, 2022. The board has already approved a primary election date of June 28th and a general election date of November 8, 2022. The additional primary date is necessary due to a Supreme Court order for congressional and state Senate elections. So I request the board to authorize me to sign off on that agreement for the Board of Elections, giving them permission to use the firehouse for a polling location on August 23rd. And that is the end of my report.
All right, so then I've got a few resolutions for you, Chief, then, and for the board. So the motion here you saw is the same as the Chief has over here. Okay, so the first one I'm going to say, the first one will be a motion for the Iona College facility. So I'll make a motion to authorize Chief Tween to sign a facility lease agreement with Iona College, which will allow members to use Iona College buildings for fire training. Okay, get a second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Randalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carla?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, next will be for the GenServe generators. Motion to authorize Chief Tween to sign the GenServe Standby Power Maintenance Agreement dated May 9th, 2022 for preventive maintenance to be performed on the 5 Firehouse emergency generators for a total of $2,688 for 1 year or $5,376 for 2 years. I would obviously I would lock in a 2-year rate at $5,076. Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Randalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carla?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And lastly, motion to authorize Chief Tween to sign the Westchester County Board of Elections consent form for an additional primary election site on August 23rd, 2022 in Bronxville Firehouse from 5 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. to be held. Again.
On that question,
Yeah.
you know, we have to consider, that's a pretty big working station that there. And, you know, we got a couple of churches, they have church halls, they're not far from the village hall. Could they be authorized to be used?
From when speaking to one of the election officials up at the county election board, some other locations in Bronxville not necessarily are so willing to give up their space. And in a roundabout way, I think the Board of Elections has, I don't want to misquote anybody, but almost a right to that firehouse to use it. And if we said no to them, it could become an issue.
And that's no cost to us?
Right.
I don't know. Then what happens, the apparatus sits on the apron of the driveway? All right, the August one, it's not cold, but what happens when we get down to October and November?
Well, then they go into the back of the station to vote, Steve? Or
Yeah,
Chief, I should
yeah,
say.
we do. We usually section off half of the apparatus floor. If there's inclement weather, we keep the apparatus inside, and we'll move the spare rig to another firehouse, so they'll have half the apparatus floor to set up their machines and tables. And a little bit of the history of it was, we used to allow Chester Heights as a polling place. And at the same time that we stopped allowing Chester Heights due to the deterioration of the floor, the Reformed Church in Bronx stopped allowing the Board of Elections for using the school due to concerns of strangers walking in during a school day when the children are in there for nursery school. So the Board of Elections asked, well, since we can't use Chester Heights anymore, we need a place for the Bronxville elections. Could we allow the Bronxville elections? So we've been allowing that, I'd say, for at least the last 4 or 5 years since I've been chief for the Bronxville polling location. So it's a little bit of an inconvenience, but we use Village Hall for our elections, and they use the Firehouse for their elections. So, you know, there is that consideration. We do use the Village Hall for the fire district elections each year.
Actually, my position is that, you know, it's a working firehouse. There's equipment from the department, there's personal belongings on that apparatus floor. There's 100 different things that could go bad on that floor, right? Just having people walking in and out. You wouldn't ask for another company or another business to say, close down for the day, we're going to use your space. But yet, we're doing that there. The apparatus floor is not a community space. You know, it's a working apparatus floor, and also you're having floor issues in Station 3 also. So is this going to hold up any repairs you might do there because you have elections coming up in that space?
When is it due by, Chief?
I think 21st, returned by May 20th. I wrote on here. But we've already given them the permission for November, so this is
And if
before
any-
that.
If anything,
so-
August is gonna be, it's gonna be dead because.
We're not going to be, I don't anticipate being done in Chester Heights for another 6 months, so I doubt that we'll, you know, be at the point where we're going to be closing the Bronxville Firehouse, you know?
Well, you know, like I said, I'm okay with it. It's
You know, we have one person could just maybe take a little slip, or a lady get her high heel caught in an expansion joint, you know.
Well, they provide an insurance rider, so it would be on the County Board of Elections. We require them to cover us, like no fault or, you
So in
know.
other words, God forbid someone falls, we're not gonna get sued.
I believe it says in there that they will provide a hold harmless clause in their insurance for it. So I believe that protects us from any sort of liability. So the insurance certificate holder and additionally insured will be shown in our records, the Bronxville Firehouse and the Eastchester Fire District. So it says this form serves to satisfy any requirement of insurance company or insurance policies that their certificate holder and any other specified entity be named as an additional insured on a primary basis where required by written contract. And we usually require them to add us as an additional insured.
Well, Chief, if we use the Bronxville Village Hall for fire commission election, why can't we use it for primary and
So that-
election time?
That's a question for the Westchester County Board of Elections. Like, we decide where we're going to hold our elections. Bronxville doesn't decide where they're going to hold their elections. It's up to the Westchester County Board of Elections to make those determinations. And, you know, that's why they send these requests out. You know, this is for August, so they sent it out, 4 months or however many months ahead of time. And again, I would say for this year, it would be difficult for the Board of Elections to find a new location on short notice like that, but, I mean, it's up to the board, however you want to decide, if you want to.
I would make a recommendation that based on past practice, we allow the county to use the firehouse in August for the primary election.
And we can address it next year if you want to change. things around. All
Okay, reluctantly, yes, I'll do it. Okay.
right, thank you.
Oh, so, did I get a second?
Yes.
Just a second, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool, all right, so Commissioner Laurie, said yes.
Reluctantly,
All that,
yes.
motion carried, let's do it, all right, motion carried,
Okay.
all right.
All right, so I think, do we want to discuss, we'll discuss that now, you wait till after, what do you want to do?
Is that next on the agenda?
No, it's at the end.
Yeah, we'll save it for the end.
All right, okay, that's fine. All right, then we'll move on to Esong and her report.
Sure. So I provided the board the April report for website management. Similar things with Civic Plus, our standard meetings for training, design concept. The board was emailed the design concept on April 5th, and it's coming along, so they're going to have a reveal, I believe, in 2 weeks for after we submitted some revisions. So I've been looking forward to providing the updates to the board with that. We have asked them to design 10 pages, and then the rest is left to us to go through training. My training will be 2 days worth in June, so I will, I'll be around, but I'm going to send a notice to the board too that I'm going to be in training with Civic Plus for 2 days straight. But I look forward to taking this on and to start designing the rest of the website for EFD. For social media, we posted 5 social media posts in April. 1 educational resource or a flyer was designed with our branding. For foils, we received 3 foils and 3 were responded to. In line with that regarding the website and the foil, I asked the board for consideration for a proposed subject matter list and also for a revised foil policy or an updated foil policy manual. So that's something that also is on the agenda here. 8 hours for digitizing, organizing the records at headquarters, and also for grant writing, submitted the funding request for Congressman Bowman's office. So that was something that we were able to send thank you letters to those that supported us. And yes, 22 hours were recorded for grant writing activities last month. And OML document was posted for the April meeting as well. So these are all updates that I provided the board, and hope to give you more for the website because things are going to happen fast in the next 2 weeks. So I'm very much excited about it. So, just for the request I have, this is the carryover for the election items, the election manual and the nominating form. Cheryl Sacco had said, there's no feedback she could provide. Pretty much she approved it. So if the board is considering this for this meeting, that's an item I'm hoping to have as well considered. So, and these are documents that would be posted on the website.
Did you get a chance to review it? I mean, I looked at it, it looked fine. Did you get a chance to review it?
I did a little bit of it, yes.
Do you want to do it next meeting?
Would you like it tonight, or?
So the website goes live on June 13th. Our next meeting is on June 16th. It's nothing that, as long as by October, ideally these materials can be available to the public leading up if they had questions about the election. But yes, we would have an election tab. It just wouldn't have necessarily any content on it just yet, by the launch date that is. So it was just for the board to consider before the launch of the website, but if there's something that needs further review, then that's fine too.
Then we can review it for the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Yeah.
So, was it 6/16 next meeting?
June 16th, I believe, yes.
Okay, that's all for you, it's on, right? There's that, and the, well, do we need to make the motion for the, no, I'm sorry. No,
Oh, yeah, no worries.
We're
There was
good.
a subject matter list, and then I know Commissioner Ranalone and I were looking forward to discussing the smoke detector campaign because we had a meeting with American Red Cross. Do we want to discuss the subject matter list first, or smoke
You can go
detector?
on your report. Is that what?
Sure, so that pretty much completed my report. It was just the carryover for the election manual and petition, and then the FOIL documents as well.
Okay, because I do have about the smoke detector campaign on my list.
So now what about now, as far as the motion for the adoption of the subject matter list, are we okay with that?
Yes,
All right, so we'll make that motion tonight.
okay.
Motion to adopt the Eastchester Fire District subject matter list.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
So you'll second that. I'll make the motion, you'll second it?
Okay, I'll second.
I'll call the roll.
Which one are you talking about? Which one, Paul?
There was
This one?
yeah, subject matter list. Have you had a chance to review that, Anthony? 'Cause you haven't.
A little bit. I didn't do it the whole thing, a little bit I did.
Sure, Cheryl's feedback was that she approved of it, so, it's just a list, an index of all the documents that we hold or the records that we hold for the fire district. And for me, my role is to update it annually, so things can change, of course, if there's something that needs to be revised, or if we need to add on or take away, that's an option as well.
Did you want to Have time to read it?
No,
Yeah, okay.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
All right, so we'll make a motion to adopt the Eastchester Fire District subject matter list for the website, and I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Manalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
And then the campaign now for the detectors, right, Paul?
Okay. Yes. Let's see, where is it? Along with the chief and Isang, met with two representatives from the American Red Cross it's concerning the smoke detector installation program. They currently have a several different options, the Red Cross does, for smoke detector installations. One, they assume all the work, they do the campaign for it, the publicizing of it, they'll do the installation of it. There's another way that we could do the publicizing of it, they would do the installation, and then that would cover it. Or they would give us the detectors, if I'm correct, and we would install them and do all the work ourselves. So right now, we're just gonna have to decide on which format we're gonna do, and they'll be getting back to, we will be getting back to them, they'll be getting back to us, and hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be able to have something concrete in how we're gonna do this. It is they do have materials on it, and we can distribute them throughout the town at whatever events that the fire department is at to publicize it. So they're very enthusiastic about doing it. They've done it in other communities, and it's been a very good campaign throughout the county. So I'm looking forward to.
These are battery type?
Yes, they're 9-volt batteries.
No, it's a 10-year battery
Oh,
now, is
yes,
what Tommy
yes.
Penneval said,
Yes.
the only ones they're allowed to sell.
Right.
No
right.
more changing them every year. If you buy a new one, it's supposed to be a 10-year battery, and you throw out
Yes,
the
that's.
smoke detector
You're
when the
right, right.
battery goes
I
bad.
forgot to. I have to include. I have him down. That he was there also. Captain Tommy Penteval from Fire
Right.
Prevention was there, as well. So he's going to have input from Fire Prevention, and Red Cross will have input, and we'll decide on how we're going to do this. I think we're even going to get the union involved and see if how they want to participate in it, if they want to participate in it. Okay, and that's it on the smoke detectors.
I mentioned earlier, I think there's I think Eastchester has a traffic safety committee that goes on in, I think, Town Hall. I'm not sure if it's been done recently with COVID and everything, but maybe that's a place where you can also, set up a table or something.
Yeah, definitely. Anything that gets a group of people together, yeah.
So if you folks in town that are on that committee, I think,
As a matter of fact, Tommy Penteval mentioned that probably the best place to start would be on Garth Road because of the number of senior citizens in that area. We would be able to get more people in a smaller area, we concentrate on, different buildings that were at one time, and, that would be the best place to start.
Also target the senior citizen buildings that we have, like 4
Jackson's.
Union
Right.
and 46 Jackson,
Right.
and those buildings as well.
Right.
Who's picking up the cost on all this?
It sounds like the Red Cross.
Well, it depends on what do we want to do? So if we just want the Red Cross to handle it and, we just have like information and, I think Isang said that the town is having a tag sale. We discussed possibly renting a booth at the tag sale.
I brought it up with Commissioner
Okay.
Carlo already, but he did recommend the Traffic Safety Committee.
I've got to talk to Sheila, because
Yeah,
she's running
yeah.
that, and I'm not even sure that's something that, with the proper venue.
Well, the town also used to do a safety day at Town Hall here, but I think during COVID, they didn't do it the last couple of years.
That's what I was thinking about.
But the police are willing to work with us. I think Isang spoke to somebody at Town Hall, and they said, if we wanted to do it, I'm sure EVAC would jump on board. I know in the past, we've done extrication demonstrations, like we'll get a junk car and cut it up, and EVAC will take the patient out of the car and simulate what goes on in a car accident. So days like that gets lots of families and children there, to see, and, just have, the Red Cross has lots of giveaways too, like little whiteboards that they give out to do, like exit drills in the home, like to plan your 2 ways out of your home. So, they have lots of little giveaways that we could give to families and stuff. So we can either let the Red Cross bear the full brunt of the cost. We can do a partnership with them. One of the big things that I liked was, maybe they do the installations and provide the smoke detectors, but we send somebody along, possibly from fire prevention, to do safety education. So while the Red Cross is installing the smoke detectors, we talk to them about fire safety. So if we're there for half an hour or 20 minutes, we can speak to the families about, having 2 ways out, or if you live in an apartment building, don't use the elevators, things like that. And then we even possibly discuss, perhaps discussing with the union, having guys come in on overtime. We would have to negotiate it with the union, and if they're covered by all, things like that, if the union was willing. So it could be all different costs. It can be, where we do the installation and the Red Cross gives us smoke detectors. We could have it, the Red Cross does things, and, we send people out for public education, which we do, right now. So it depends on how deep we want to go into it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Well, I'll check in with,
yeah, I don't think we're there yet to make that decision. We're still researching options and stuff like that, maybe in the
I'll check
next
to see if
month
the
or
yard
so.
sale is an option as
Yep,
far as,
yeah.
the setup at the camp or something.
Right.
All right, so we're good to sign?
Good.
Okay. On to a personnel matter. Do we need the badge number for that MOA?
I don't think I would want to say it because it would be too obvious who it is.
It's fine, so, simple motion,
yeah.
resolution number 68, for the motion to authorize Chief Tween to execute a MOA. Second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
On to miscellaneous business. We have a EFD procurement policy. Have we been able to put that to finalize?
We came up with some figures. It'll be up to the board to decide if,
Yeah, nothing would really change except for the table itself, and we kind of cleaned it up. So we raised the numbers. I think Chief Tween discussed it, raising for, do you have it in front of you? Because I have it.
That came
Let's
from
see
Cheryl,
here.
right?
Yes, and Cheryl signed off on it as well. So ultimately, it's just a change in the numbers, increasing it, I believe, double for the initial levels.
Need a motion on
Did
that?
You had a chance to review it, you okay?
Yes.
Anthony?
I didn't hear.
On the procurement policy, have you had a chance to review the numbers, the revised numbers? I mean, they've just been they've been raised up because they've been
Yep.
so low for the years, so.
Okay. Good.
All right, so now in that case, I'll make that motion for motion number 69, resolution 69, for motion to adopt the attached resolution and amended procurement policy.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, so on to a few more items. So we have camera and security access systems. I know we discussed last time, Chief, about, at the very least, possibly updating or changing the locks of the doors, and I don't know if you had a chance to get any quotes on that, or?
well, so I got 2 quotes for the other way, going with the key fobs and stuff like that. I don't want to say what they were because I'm still waiting for a 3rd quote. We had another vendor come by about 2 weeks ago. I was expecting to get it this week. I don't know, maybe he'll give it to me tomorrow. So I'll have a 3rd quote for the original cameras and key fob access, where guys will have to have like an ID card or a key fob to get into Firehouse. From what I've seen, it's not a cheap thing to do because the prevailing wage and all the cables that have to be run to each of the doors, and the locksmiths that have to change out the lock things so that, the latches so that they open. I think maybe a more economical solution would be to have a controlled keys. So those keys like you have in schools where it says do not duplicate. So perhaps I can get a locksmith to give us a quote to changing the locks. Because one of the concerns in a safety report we had done, I think it was from 2011, I think it was when workplace violence was introduced by New York State, where businesses and municipalities were required to have a workplace violence policy. I believe we hired consultants to come in and do an analysis of our 5 firehouses for safety for the workplace violence policy. In that, they suggested that many people have retired and haven't returned keys. People have left the job and haven't returned keys. So there's many people out there that have a key to our firehouse that no longer work for the district. So it's hard to grab back those keys when somebody quits, for whatever reason. So my suggestion was to just change all the locks that have the generic fire department key to a controlled key that will not be allowed to be duplicated. I think that would be more economical than doing the key fob system. And then we can have employees sign off that, when they leave the fire district, that they will return the key. And that way we'll have control over, who has what keys. We can even have Tim number them, like 1 through 100 or however many we get. And then, firefighter Smith, when he retires, we get back key number 52 that he was issued 30 years ago. So,
You mentioned last meeting, that was, you take a look at that. Have you?
well, Tim's been on vacation this week, and I haven't had a time to
right, so
have a
you-
locksmith come. And I was hoping that third quote for the other way would come in, and then that way you guys could steer me in the other direction, because
I think it's worth getting a quote on the, just,
changing the locks to a
Yes.
controlled key, okay, that's
at the
fine.
very least. And if we
Yep.
want to look at cameras and
Okay,
other things down the road, we could, but let's maybe get an idea. And get the third quote, of course.
yeah, well, I've already did the walkthrough with the vendor and just waiting on his
Let's see
proposal.
where we get, where it would take to just
Yep.
change locks out. And,
Okay, I'll continue with that.
All right, that'd be great. Thanks, Jason. 616. All right, on to Chester Heights. So I know Michael's here, so, I've been speaking to our engineer as well as the contractor several times since our last meeting. I asked him to come, he could not make tonight for whatever reason. But just the last night, but within the last 24 hours, I received a very detailed timeline, if you will, of what has happened to date and what he expects to happen going forward. I'm gonna summarize it and have ESOM put it on the website so that people can see what is the process and where we are so far in that process. But both, this just came through today from the contractor, so that both our engineer and our contractor are forecasting that they expect this job to be completed by the fall. I don't know if that means September 19th or, December 19th. I'm going to say hopefully by Halloween. I can't nail them down to a better date, but they were saying right now they expect to have this job totally done by the fall.
Are they going to put that in writing?
Well, I have it in writing via an email, so I can tell you. I have that, but,
It's, we're paying them. I think one of those people should have been here to represent what they're
yeah, and I asked them to come, and,
And I think as you guys, as you gentlemen being on the board, I think you should put pressure on them to be here. It's unfair to the public when I say.
Mike, you want to step to the mic so everyone could hear you?
It's unfair. Hi, I'm Mike Parisi from 16 Lockwood Avenue. It's unfair to the public that they're not here. They're being paid a salary. There's not much activity going on down there right now, except Con Edison putting in a new gas main. And the reason why I know, I'm retired, and I see what's going on at the firehouse. I seen the fire chief there a lot, but as far as the contractor, maybe the contractor was with Brian Tuesday. I
No,
think, or
they
Wednesday.
were kind of in a stall until the board approved, what do they approve tonight for $133,000. Now the contractor can get going again and do that water remediation for the basement.
When they do the water remediation, what are we saying?
So we have a high water table, so it's
Right.
just below the slab. So they're gonna put perforated pipe under the floor in the basement in like 3 rows going down into the boiler room and into where the old oil tank used to be. So all areas of the basement are gonna be covered by perforated pipe, and they're gonna go to a sump pump system that is gonna have 2 pumps, and it's gonna pump it out to a Coltech system, those big round things, and then if it overflows, it's gonna go into the storm drain system in the street. So they're actually gonna have, it go into, I guess, dry wells on the property, and then I believe if it overflows that, it goes out into the street storm drain system. So that's what the board approved tonight. So that was a holdup for the last few weeks, because they couldn't move forward with doing the floor because they need to get heavy equipment in the basement now that they have to cut the floor. If they put in the concrete floor, now they can only do hand sawing of the concrete in the basement. So they purposely left the front of the firehouse, like they have Q decking all over the rest of the floor, except the first 15 feet of the firehouse. So now they can use their excavator to drop the diamond saw down there, the big one, and all the equipment that they'll need to cut these channels into the basement floor to do the water remediation or water control system.
Do we know how many BTUs that pump is going to pump out?
Yeah, we have all the paperwork on the pumps. It was just emailed last night,
I
and
saw it.
so
Where would they be located in the basement of the firehouse?
So they're gonna go, we have a sump pump system there now.
Right.
And, you know, there was 2 sump pumps there currently, but they weren't, there was no way for the water unless it got all the way to the front of the basement. So now there's gonna be drains throughout the basement floors, all throughout the basement, that are gonna be pitched to that dry well. So if there's water in the back, we're gonna pick it up and it's gonna be pitched towards the pumps. So, yeah, there's 2 pumps, I don't know how many horsepowers they were, but we did get all the documentation on the pumps that they're, you know, the contractor's gonna be putting in.
Okay.
So, you know, it could probably be put on the website, you know?
And we'll
so.
add
I
that.
think it would be great. to
Yeah,
put on
it's
the-
probably on the website tonight, because it's in the open meeting documents, right?
I didn't see it. I mean,
Don't think for those specific ones, but
Okay.
it's easy
Yeah, it
to
only
upload
came
for-
last night as well.
Yeah.
But that's something we could put on the website, so
I
you
think it
can
would be
see
a
what
good
was
idea to put it on the
approved.
website, and I also think it would be a good idea for the contractor to be here at the
Well,
next.
I mean, again, I've been
I-
I've been after him, and I'll invite him again to the next meeting. And I'm hoping that when he said fall, he was being conservative in the sense that maybe that's the furthest out of the, I'm hoping it gets done even sooner. But I made very clear over several emails in the past few weeks that this thing has really gotten to the point where it's gotta get done. It's gotta be complete. Now, there were snags, we found the water table, they never expected the water to be as bad as it was, and other things along the way. You'll see that in the notes when we post them. But they both have been very responsive of late, which is nice. But they both, and I made it very clear that this has got to go, because we've got trucks in our society schoolhouse building, we got, you know, guys sleeping, you know, it's just not good. You know, we got to get it done. So I'm hoping even before fall, but I can't say. And, but you know what? I'm going to keep inviting them to every meeting, and maybe as we go along, they'll have
But,
the.
you know, I think something should be in writing from it, if it's going to be fall of October, or going into the new year, the job will be completed as is, you know?
I certainly hope it's not the new year.
He said the fall, but not what year.
You know, and what year? I mean, and the punch list should be updated, you know, and should be brought to you guys, how far, where they're going and what they're doing. There's none of that right now, and this is constructive criticism.
No,
There's no punch list to show what's going on right now, and.
Well,
you know,
it wasn't now until I finally asked him for a timeline or some update that I finally got anything of.
But I'll tell you what, then, hold back on the paper.
Resemblance, you know, that,
You know, if you hold back money, you know, people squeeze, you know, money
Oh, no,
makes
yeah.
a blind man sing, okay? So, you know.
When is our next board meeting, Isa?
6/16.
June 16th.
June 16th. Well, that's almost a month now. We could let him know in the next couple of days, or inviting him here for the next meeting.
Well, I'm
If
going-
he-
no.
If he can't make it, tell his assistant to make it, and bring us all the information like the people from Chester Heights want to know. We don't want to hear nothing that he's out of town or something come up. Let his assistant come if he can't come. Very simple.
It's simple. I mean, it's cut and dry. I mean, he's getting paid, but there's nothing that we see, except you're gonna put it on the web.
Right.
But there's nothing that's coming out of his mouth telling us what he's doing. Now, I have another question. What are we
Just
doing
on that,
with?
the contractor only gets paid as the work gets completed. Like Jamie gets a
Right.
thing with,
But
you know.
but he's getting paid something. He's not giving his time. I mean, he should have something in
Well,
writing.
we
to
have
say.
everything, every worker, we have to get all certified payroll, so we get every worker's hours and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. As parts of work get completed, they put in to get paid for that.
But you get it, but we don't see it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
That's what I'm trying to say.
right.
Okay? Now, another question has come up. What about the electrical lighting around that building, the perimeter?
Yeah, I asked them to address that. Unfortunately, all the electrical lines to those lights were cut when they removed the floor. So, you know,
See,
yeah.
That's just what I mean, you know? And no pun intended,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, you or anybody else. Nobody was watching.
Well, no,
all that- all
the
that
wires were in the floor, so
But-
they had to remove the floor, they had to
But
remove the wires, so they had
That
to
was all new
cut off the
electrical,
circuit breaker.
that was all new electrical equipment that was put in, right? Not too long ago, right? The wiring was updated in that house?
No, I think those fixtures weren't there fixtures out
There was
there already?
fixtures,
Yeah, there was spotlights over
when they
by,
completed the facade of that house, there
Right.
was all new fixtures put up outside
On
the
the
house.
exterior.
On the
And they're
exterior
still
of the
there.
house. But they're not working.
right, but they're gonna be as soon as, you
Yeah,
know, they,
But, vandalism,
Floor back in.
vandalism happens, okay? And as you know, and that's gonna come back to who? The district, and it's gonna come back to the taxpayers. So that's, another question I have. And now I have one more question, if I may.
sure.
What's the story with Engine 4? Did they put a sign outside that
I mean, I haven't moved forward on that, I mean,
this is the temporary headquarters of Engine 4, and put a phone out there?
At the schoolhouse?
We had,
yeah.
we had talked about that at the last meeting, and Brian,
But
I
you
think
suggested it, I didn't
You
think it was necessary. If
look
the
at
board
it.
wants to direct me to do that, I'll get another
You need to do that. You
$150
have,
sign.
that engine's just sitting there, and people just think that's part of the historical society. Okay? I mean, it doesn't say, it just, when the door is open on the engine, it says Engine 4. But you should say, this is the temporary headquarters of Engine 4. Okay?
Well, yes, we have to see, but I've got other issues now with the society where they want the truck out of there.
But, if
So,
you don't want to, if you don't put it on their property, you could put a sign outside, and you could just say, this is temporary headquarters of Engine 4. In the event of emergency, call 911. I mean, like you have on the Firehouse now.
We can always, we can always have another sign, created and.
You want me to make a sign? I'll have
Yeah,
another
but let
sign
me,
made up.
like I said, I've got a bigger issue right now with the society as far as just to,
Let's see if we can get that for the next meeting, when you guys come to the meeting. And let's also see if we can have representation from the contractor at this meeting, the next meeting.
I will put
I
that
think that's
request
only
in.
fair
I think we've been
to
asking
the
for the
generalized
engineer, not the
public,
contractor.
you know?
We've asked-
Right.
we've
Last
asked- we've
month,
asked
he
for-
was
we've
asking
asked
for the engineer.
That's for Joe, right.
Yeah, so we were gonna ask the engineer to come, but he's out of the state today.
Well, he has an assistant, as Anthony said,
No,
doesn't he?
no, but now you said contractor.
Contractor, engineer, whoever
Well,
it may be,
I
whoever's
don't
doing the
know.
job down
I'm not
there.
sure if
Have
they're gonna
somebody,
come, man.
Yeah, I don't know
No.
that the contractor's gonna
I don't know
come.
if you got a contractor, an engineer, you got a clerk
No,
of the
it-
works,
it-
you
it-
know.
Precedes them, right?
We have an engineer, and
He's running the show.
we've
yeah, so-
awarded a bid, we've awarded a contract to the contractor, so his price isn't gonna change. They wanna get out of there. They wanna finish up the job as soon as they can. We've been waiting on the engineer, so I think it's better to get the engineer
No, we're
here.
gonna, not
Well,
so,
somebody should be here to tell us
The
what's
engineer
what's going on,
supersedes the contractor, right?
you know?
Yeah, the
Well,
engineer decides what gets done.
hopefully have me
Get
for the
him here.
16th.
That's all. We
Right.
get him
I'm
here.
gonna have to
Well, he
tell
was out of
everybody
the
in Chester
state
Heights
today.
don't pay their
That's
fire
understandable.
taxes next time, okay?
All right, have a good evening.
Hey,
Okay.
thanks, Mike.
Does that fall date include bathrooms and heat?
Say that again?
Does the fall date include bathrooms and heating?
That hasn't gone out for RFP yet. We still
Right,
have to
we've
award
got-
that.
We've got to review that also as far as the HVAC.
I don't think that's gonna
and-
take long. I mean, it's a
No
couple
job
months.
seems to be taking long, but they always take long.
Well, it's,
I'm gonna talk to Joe, but I think right now that's just about the floor, the October date. So it's out there on the table as far as us approving the design for.
So, but could that be done prior?
no,
Could that be done?
concurrently.
Or concurrently?
Yeah,
with
I
it.
would assume the
It just have to
bathrooms
be
are
like,
gonna be
okay, the
done.
floor is done in the fall, and now we're gonna start the bathrooms and the heating.
No, the plan is to do them concurrently. Like, the floor should go in as soon as they finish the waterproofing, but then they have to do the outside. They're doing the ramp, they're doing all the Coltech, those big dry wells and stuff. So as soon as the floor is back in, contractors can start on the bathroom and the heating system.
Okay.
So,
I have one more question. Mr.
Yeah.
Just lost my train of thought. You said something about the bathrooms. I just ran in my head. The heating, okay, that he's talking about, and there was one other thing. If I remember now, I'll tell you. I just lost it when he was.
the other part of that is that heating system, the 2 bathrooms, and the handicap accessible ramp to the front door. So that's part of the RFP that has to go out.
Okay. Well, we have to review that.
Yep.
Should we make a motion to,
No, you guys have to
I know what the question
approve the drawings and stuff.
just came back to me. What's the story?
What's
with
that?
the what's the fire door, the door
What's
to
that?
the house?
I got approved to do the
Okay.
changes.
Did we order the new door?
To Station 5?
Station 4.
To 4?
Yeah, it's been delivered, and the contractor is holding it on their site for us until it's ready to go in. So the new garage door is in at the contractor site in Mayapack.
Okay, so entailing any cost on him holding that door, right?
Nope, we made sure that there would be no cost. What happened was that the garage door company that they ordered it from wanted it, because they ordered it, they wanted to get paid. So they couldn't get paid till they delivered it. But they didn't want to deliver it to Chester Heights because it's going to be sitting outside for a few months. So they delivered it to the contractor, and we made sure they're going to store it and, you know, that they'll be responsible
So
if there's
they
any
took
damage.
responsibility for it.
So there's
in case
no
anything-
charge for the storage, and if there's any damage to the door before they get it installed, that they would have to bear the brunt of it.
All right.
So,
And look into the lighting system too around that building. You know, prevention is better than, you know, walking in there, since you do have the generators hooked up in the back, right?
sure.
You don't need somebody to break in there in the middle of the night and start stripping copper and doing their thing, you know, and then you're gonna bring it back to the community. Okay? Because it is dark back there. You got the ball field, you got Hannah's Station on the side. Once those people go home, it is a dark area back there.
All right, well, talk to Chief.
Yeah, well, we'll have our electricians run, I guess,
That's it.
temporary
If you-
power to
if
those
you
light
ran- if
fixtures.
you ran temporary lighting, you put a couple of spots outside, you know, you put up on the top of the second floor of the volunteer headquarters.
Well, no, we would run power to the
Well-
fixtures that are already there.
Yeah, do that,
But,
you know.
you know, it's, you know,
It's like everything else. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, on to the next item, which was, from last meeting, was the question of the VBA FOIL process. So, as you mentioned, Anthony, simply,
If simply, if you want to know anything, a FOIL, and FOIL it to Dave Horn. He's the president of the Benevolent Association.
I get a quick, a simple email to him would do as well, right?
Sure.
Okay, so we have to do a FOIL just yet, but that's just, all right. And, okay, so we'll send that off to Mr. Horn and see what we get back, so we can go from there. Last was the Ion College.
Do you need them to be more specific in what they want? Yeah, like what exactly is the board
We're
looking
I
for?
think, we're looking for an update from the prior.
So
FOIL.
whatever they asked for from the previous one that went to
Yes,
court
so I
and
think
all
we went
that,
through- I
just to
think-
get
I
the
think we
most
went through
recent
2019.
years?
We're looking now for, I think, 20 and 21. You know, there was the last 2 years of financial statements, I guess.
Is, just to clarify, is the board directing me to reach out then to David Horn on their behalf to
I
request
think
this
one of us,
record?
I think one of us can do it.
Okay, gotcha.
That's,
So,
yeah,
no
we
problem.
can take a first stab at it, then hopefully, we know, just he sends us what we need. And
Sure.
Be okay. But thank you, son.
No problem.
We have the Ion College Facility Lease Agreement, which we took care of before. The additional date for the primary election in August, which we've already taken care of, that's checked off. Okay, so we understand that we are in need of a tower ladder.
Right, our current one is from 2003, and during the north end construction, it was stored outside for 3 years, so have a lot of issues with rust, and there's a lot of maintenance being spent on keeping that vehicle running. I've spoken to the vendor that we bought the last 4 apparatus from, and he said there's about an 18-month lead time right now on buying a new ladder truck. So if we ordered it tomorrow, we wouldn't get it for a year and a half. So I don't know how much longer the current tower ladder is going to be cost effective at, you know, spending a lot of money on repairs to keeping it in service. So I would ask the board to authorize me to start the process of coming up with a bid for a tower ladder. Would recommend Pierce because that's what we've been happy with. We've used the Houston-Galveston Area Council Purchasing Cooperative for the other 4 apparatus, so we don't have to go out for bid. It's a cooperative that many departments use to purchase their apparatus. And so, you know, it'll probably take me a month or 2 to come out with specs and a cost, but a ballpark figure for tower ladders based upon how we did the last ladder truck that we received last year. The last ladder truck was about $1.07 million. A tower ladder is about $1.8 million. So then the board would have to figure out how we're going to pay for that, because that would pretty much deplete our reserves. I don't know if Jamie wants to speak on any recommendations. But again, we wouldn't have to pay for it until we took delivery if we wanted to do that. In the past, we have done prepayments to save money. So when we bought the 3 engines, we prepaid 90%, and we saved, I think it was like $80,000 on the cost of the 3 engines. The ladder truck, we could have saved $40,000. So I don't know that we have the money to prepay, so I'm not, I could get pricing if we can do savings if we prepay, but You know.
Is it safe to say that if we initiate the process now, that we will lock into a better price today?
Absolutely. So at the beginning of May, Pierce had a 7% increase, which on a $1.8 million fire truck is ballpark around $100,000. And so they're anticipating another price increase before the end of the year. So I think if we, you know, within the next 2 months, if we're able to come up with a spec that we're satisfied with, I would recommend trying to lock in, you know, because they're only going to get more expensive and the lead time is probably going to get longer. So.
And you want a tower
Yeah, so we
ladder.
have one straight aerial. We have 2 straight aerials.
Right.
One is the reserve ladder truck, ladder 15. The ladder truck we got in 2020 was a straight 107-foot Pierce Ascendant aerial. So the tower ladder gives us a lot more
That's what I'm-
flexibility rather than having all sticks. If we have to, you know, rescue people from a window, it's much easier to lower them down with a tower ladder bucket than it is with a straight stick.
I'll make the motion that the chief look into that and get it all set up. What'd you say,
Yep.
18 months it takes?
Well, we're not spending any money now,
No, I
and we're
know,
not
I know.
ordering it. It's just I'm gonna start spending, I don't wanna waste my time and then
No,
come back to the
I-
board and
I
they're
hear
saying,
you.
we don't need a tower ladder, so.
No, I hear you.
If the board is,
I make the
in
motion.
agreement that it's time to do it, I'll start meeting with the Pierce, representative and start drawing up some specs.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Randallone?
Aye.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And just one more thing on that, Pierce does make a tower ladder that we've already had to the Firehouse, and it does fit in. So their current tower ladders will fit in the north end without any modifications, because it's about the same height as the current tower ladder.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, that's all we have, so I'll ask for any local 916 comments. All good? Thank you, Mr. Andelone. Public, Mike, anybody else, or anything additional? Yes, Tony?
Good evening, Commissioners. Anthony Fiore, Village of Tuckahoe. Just to give everybody a heads up, on May 22nd, the volunteers will be having their memorial service. It's at 8 a.m. at Immaculate Conception Church. Then right after that, we're going to go to the Volunteer Monument on White Plains Road in Waverly Place, and after that, we're going to have a little brunch, a little breakfast after that. Okay? And then we're going to march to the Memorial Day Parade, too, in Bronxville. We're going there on the 30th. Yeah, I think it's the 30th. Yep. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
great, thank
Anthony.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
on the memorial service that Anthony's talking about.
Yes.
We could have a bell and
Yeah.
and an engine there?
Yep, like we usually do. We'll do that. Yep, hopefully we'll have nice weather.
That's why we're going to church.
So that's all for the public? Anyone else? No? All right, Commissioner comments? Mr. Laurie, anything?
I'm good. Maybe I'm just repeating myself, but on the days of trash and leaves and whatever have you that you put out, please, don't put them in front of the fire hydrant. As many times as I mention it, I could drive around town and say everything's piled against the fire hydrant. Just trying to tell the public, God forbid, if something happens, it's that much more time that the firefighter has to move this stuff away from the hydrant to connect to the pump before he gets the water onto the fire. So please, public, don't put anything against the fire hydrant.
Would you be interested in a few social media posts and notices around that as well to remind the public?
We could, but, you know, I wish it does
Sure.
some usage, you know, because like I said, I've mentioned this many, many times, and you could go on recyclable days too, and they're all piled on. Chief, I'm sure you've seen
I
it.
think it's good to post a reminder.
Put it on the website.
Yeah, I could put it on the website and,
Whether
yes,
people read it or not, you know, it's out there.
okay.
Okay. Mr. Andelone?
Okay, yes, I have a couple of things. Last month, I took a Cpr Refresher Course given by firefighter Billy Wilgerman at Station 3. I went to Station 3 to check on the new rescue boat with Captain DiBattista and Lieutenant DiRienzo while they inventoried the equipment on the boat. And we also scouted out several locations to launch the boat from for training purposes. And they expect to begin the training on all the groups shortly. Let's see, also, this morning, I met with the chief and Eric, an engineer from Highland Associates, concerning the apparatus floor at Station 3, right in the front where the overhead door is. There's cracking and spalling of the concrete floor in the basement, and he checked it out, and he's going to spec out on the repairs that need to be done to that floor. And also, I noticed in the paper a few days ago that Polly Parker had passed away. I know probably there's very few people around anymore who would remember Polly Parker, but she was appointed a fire commissioner back in the early 1980s. Her husband, Joel Parker, was a fire commissioner. He served one full term, and in his second term, he was elected to the town board, and the Board of Fire Commissioners at that time appointed his wife, Polly, to fulfill the unexpired term. So I'd just like to make a motion that we close our meeting in memory of Polly Parker.
Okay.
And at the same token, she was our only lady fire commissioner that we had at that time. Right, Paul?
Yep.
Did she run again? Was she reelected?
No, she-
No, she was just appointed
Okay.
and finished his term out.
And yesterday morning, you guys were down at Station 3 with the,
Today.
Today.
Today's Thursday, right?
Yeah, we'll get a report in, what do you say, 2 weeks, I think? So
Yeah.
hopefully before the next meeting, we'll have a report on that floor.
That's great. All right, I have nothing, my only thing right now is to keep Station 4 going, so.
Well, I believe our lease is through August 31st with the town, so we'll see what happens.
I mentioned that to the board the night of the meeting,
Right,
and
right.
as much as they want us out of there, I said, well, we did sign for August, the end of August, so. It turns out that we're having our fall dinner is gonna be held off-site, whereas usually we have it on the lawn of the schoolhouse, so, you know, I like to say you're safe till August, and I think you will be, but there's been some rumblings, you know, who knows, so we'll hopefully, and maybe with any luck, you'll be out of there before August.
Yeah,
I'm
fingers
still
crossed.
hoping that
Yep,
the
yep.
fall date is just a crazy, you know,
Estimate.
yes.
Chief, did they ever resolve that problem with the wall down by the firehouse in Bronxville? With that neighbor next
Oh,
door?
at the cemetery?
Yeah, so we had a survey done, and it turned out to be our wall. So at the time, the commissioner that was the chairman said, okay, it's our wall, we're not going to fix it. Because we thought the wall was half and half, you know, like, because the property line went like, you know, on an angle. So if it was half and half, we were going to split the cost with the neighbor to fix it. But since the survey showed that the wall was completely ours, we could do what we want with it, so.
Because I had mentioned that time when you were down there and I was down there with you, the way the man plowed, he plowed it all over that wall.
Right,
He
right.
plowed it to the left, to the right side.
But he couldn't even give us the name of the plow operator.
Right.
And it was 2 years later, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to, you know, go after somebody 2 or 3 years later for damage that we claim he did with a snowplow, so, you know, he'll say, I didn't do that, you know, there was no proof, no
Yeah.
pictures, you know, it was just what that neighbor said, that the snowplow hit the wall. So, yeah, it's our wall, if we wanna fix it,
So it's
it
still
is
that-
in
it's still that
disrepair.
way?
Yeah, yeah, so. I mean, you know, the wall's 200 feet long in one direction, and it's probably a good 50 to 60 feet long in the other, so I don't know what a 5-6 foot wall costs to, you know, repair, but
Don't even
it's
go
not gonna
there.
be cheap, yeah. I'm sure it's gonna have to go out for bid, I believe it would be more than 35,000, so we'd have to have a competitive bids, so. It's definitely beyond Tim's capability
Yeah,
to
I
repair
know
that
that.
wall.
All right, we're good. So, just so the public knows, we are not going into exec session because we have no reason to do that this evening. So I'll make a motion to adjourn, and of course, after we adjourn, we'll have a moment of silence for Polly Parker. Second,
Second?
all in agreement to adjourn?
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a good night, and we'll have a moment of silence.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night. We'll talk soon.